اطلب العلم أخي فهو درب به نور، به ترقى به تحيا عالما حرا فخور.
اطلب العلم أخي فهو درب به نور، به ترقى به تحيا عالما حرا فخور. اطلب العلم أخي فهو درب به نور، به ترقى به تحيا عالما حرا فخور.
سل إماما عاش في العلم دهورا ودهور، يطلب العلم ببذل حتى ضمته البحور.
سل إماما عاش في العلم دهورا ودهور.
We've enjoyed all the years that we've been here, and we definitely plan to continue to send our children to ILM Academy.
Go ILM Academy.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to ILM Academy's Mission Possible evening. I'm very honored, humbled, appreciative, and quite shocked to be your MC tonight. Imad Sabah recently texted me about 2 weeks ago asking me, Brother Mulham, would you be interested in MCing the event? And I had a lot of thoughts going through my mind, but two main thoughts went through. Number one, is 2 weeks enough time for me to grow a beard? And number two, will they run a background check on me? I'm very happy to share with you that I am here tonight because no background check has been run. But if you're a parent of students at ILM Academy, I want you to be rest assured that all the faculty, all the administration, and all the boards have had background checks run on them. I look around tonight and I see so much diversity, and it's what makes events like this so special. We do have a few small housekeeping items before we start. Number one, as all of you entered, you received a ticket. On the back of your ticket is a number, and that number will be used for a raffle drawing at the end. We have a few raffle drawing prizes tonight, which include gift cards from restaurants, gym memberships, and so forth. In the middle right here, you'll also see some artwork that has been donated to us. The artwork comprises work of ILM students, ILM faculty, and some of the community members at large. A lot of time went into making these pieces of artwork, so we ask you please to look at these pieces of artwork. It's a silent auction. Bid and bid often if possible. All of the money from these pieces of artwork here go to ILM Academy. All of the praises and thanks are due to Allah, and to formally start the event, I would like to introduce Brother Ayub, who will be reciting from the Holy Quran, followed by a hadith by ILM's 7th grade student, Abid Salakin, and translated by ILM's 4th grade student, Mariah Mustafa. Please join me in welcoming Brother Ayub.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ustad Ayub Bassam, and I teach Islamic Studies and Quran for 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت 7 سنابل في كل سنبلة 100 حبة والله يضاعف لمن يشاء والله واسع عليم. الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله ثم لا يتبعون ما أنفقوا منا ولا أذى لهم
درجاتهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون قول معروف ومغفرة خير من صدقة يتبعها أذى والله غني حليم. جزاكم الله خيرا. The translation of which is, the example of those who spend their wealth for the path of Allah is like that of one seed that gives yield to 7 ears of corn, each ear of corn carrying 7 kernels. And Allah, He multiplies for He whom He wills, and He is vast and knowledgeable. Those who spend their wealth in the path of Allah, and then they don't follow up their spending with harm or reminding of their generosity, then they will have their reward with their Lord, and they will have no fear on themselves, nor will they grieve. A recognizable statement, an acceptable statement, and forgiveness is better than a charity that is spent but then followed up by reminding one another of one's generosity. He ends it by saying, Allah is rich and He is clement or forbearant. Jazakumullah khair.
We have a few student presentations right now. If the students involved in these presentations can start to come up, we can introduce them as well. We have pre-K students, Montessori students, are going to be singing a song, Sab'a Sab'a, pertaining to the days of the week in Arabic. The second graders are going to sing a song, The Blue Sky is Blue, and the fourth graders are going to sing a song, Assalamu Alayka. If the students from pre-K can please come up here, we could start with them first.
Day present a nasheed by Maher Zain. Its name is Assalamu Alayka. I hope you enjoy it.
رقت عيناي شوقا ولطيبة ذرفت عشقا فأتيت إلى حبيبي فاهدأ يا قلب ورفقا صلي على محمد السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله قلب بالحق تعلق وبغار حراء تألق يبكي يسأل خالقه فأتاه الوحي فأشرق اقرأ اقرأ يا محمد السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله يا طيبة جئتك صبا لرسول الله محبا بالروضة سكنت روحي وجوار الهادي محمد يا طيبة جئتك صبا لرسول الله محبا بالروضة سكنت روحي وجوار الهادي محمد السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا حبيبي يا نبي الله يا رسول الله
A one, a two, a 1, 2, 3. We will learn about tajweed so we can earn another good deed. First thing to know are the reading speeds. Hadar, tajweed, and tahqiq. Now we'll start from where the letters form. We call them makharij. That's the norm. The makharij are three throat, tongue, and lips. The same old parts for eating fish and chips. There's also empty space in the throat and mouth. It's called the jaws and runs from north to south. In the throat there are three parts, low, middle, high, that's how it starts. They're easy, each one of them has letters of its own. They're easy to learn, so don't moan and don't. Down low there's hamza, and the ha, at the middle there's ain, and the ha, at the top there's ghain, and the ha, 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 ha. Three letters on the lips right here and now. Memorize them, the meme and wow. The rest of the letters come from the tongue, from different letters to be flung. The hardest of them is the dawn, but I'll tell you a secret, it isn't a fraud. Put the size of your tongue at the size of your teeth. When you're ready to say it, just give it a squeeze. There's a sound that comes from the nose. It's called a wunna. Here's how it goes. It comes with the noon and the meme and the nam. Amma. Just let it stream. Don't hold it too long. It's only 2 beats. When does it happen with tunes noon and meme meet? Or when there isn't any sign of noon? Or with a ya after noon and meme sukoon? 2 more ways this sound is made. When noon sukoon and the ya do fade. The met is that when being short is wrong. Alif ya and well sometimes not even wrong. When there is a sign of them on any of them, we hold it 4 counts for most of them. When a shadda comes right after met, then it 6 count. You got that one? My head.
Next up, I'm very honored to introduce the new principal of ILM Academy. I actually just met her for the first time about an hour ago, and the very first thing that stuck out to me when I spoke to her was her passion. I've heard about her leadership, I've heard about her personality, I've heard about her character, but her passion, mashallah, is off the charts. Sister Farhat Siddiqui obtained her bachelor's degree in elementary education from Northeastern Illinois University and subsequently completed her master's in education from Loyola University, specializing in school leadership and administration. She comes to ILM Academy with over 20 years of experience in education and leadership. She is well known in the field of education and has proven her expertise in streamlining school processes and raising the academic status nationally of the Islamic school where she has worked. Please join me in welcoming Sister Farhat Siddiqui to ILM Academy and to Georgia.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Farhat Siddiqui. I'm the principal at ILM Academy here in Roswell, Georgia. I would like to welcome all of you, our staff, students, board members, parents, and eventually in the future, probably alumni will be joining us, and our parent community and our guests who are visiting with us today, inshallah. Welcome to our annual benefit dinner. Thank you so much for joining us today to share in our successes and our stories. Jazakallah khair. When I came to ILM Academy 2 months ago in December, I was really inspired by the eagerness of the board to do whatever was necessary to help the school. I was energized by the teachers and staff who believed in ILM, its past, and its future. I was impressed with the parents and the PTO for everything they had done from the start to establishing the school to building it up and supporting it, and what they are committed and willing to do, including today's event. This is the effort of the board, the parents, and the staff and the students, alhamdulillah. I was impressed and pleased with the potential of the students. I realized that the Muslim community of Atlanta was doing something right and has a great future ahead of them, and I definitely wanted to be a part of that. I want to take some time out to share some of my experiences and expectations with you as a parent and as an educator. I really have only 3 points that I want to talk about. Our children, of course, our most valuable asset in this world that we have. As parents, their successes are our successes, and their shortcomings, whether we like it or not, reflect upon us. We spend every waking moment thinking about them, worrying about them, planning for all aspects of their life and well-being. With so many choices and decisions to make, it can become all-consuming and all-challenging. I remember in 1991, my son Taha was 3 years old. He's our eldest, and my husband and I had our first conversation about where we were going to send him to school. Well, I was born in Wisconsin and grew up in Chicago, and I was a product of the Chicago Public Schools as an elementary student, and I was a product of the Catholic schools as a high school student because there was no Islamic schools at that time, and the Catholic school was the best option, the most viable option. I went to a state university for my undergrad, and I went to a private Catholic school for my master's. My husband, he was educated overseas in India. He was a product of the Catholic schools there. He had come on a student visa on a full scholarship to a master's program admission at one of the leading universities here in the United States. And he had a wonderful experience in the university system in America. He believed in the public educational system in America. I, on the other hand, did not so much. I knew in 2000, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development decided to test students in academic subject areas and created the PISA test. Each year, this test is administered to 15-year-old students in schools to determine their performance in reading, math, and science. The PISA stands for the Program for International Student Assessment, and is taken by millions of students around the world, and the first test was administered in 2000 in 32 countries. In 2000, the US ranked 20th out of 32 countries in math, 15 out of 32 countries in science, and 15 out of 32 countries in reading. Half of the world outperformed the US students. After investing millions of dollars on new programs and new initiatives, the results of 2012 were disappointing as well. The PISA test was administered to students in 34 countries. The US students ranked 26th place out of 36 countries in math, 21st place out of 34 countries in science, and 17th place out of 34 in reading. Math and science scores fell, and reading stayed about the same. But when the students were asked, how do you think you did on the test? They thought they did pretty well, because US students ranked #1 in confidence. That's true. Along with this fact, I also had my own experience in the public school system. The first memory that I can recall from school was when I was a student in 3rd grade. Believe it or not, I remember. It was a 3rd grade classroom, and it was the first day of school, and the teacher asked us to introduce ourselves by giving our name. So the students went around the room and they stated their names. There was a student who was from Asia. I don't know as a 3rd grader what country she was from at that time, and her name was Hee Young, I remember. And the teacher said, well, you are in America now, so we're going to call you Helen. She accepted that. It was my turn. I said, my name is Farhat. She said, well, you're in America now, and we're going to call you Sue. Well, that didn't sit too well with me, okay? But I came from a conservative, desi, religious, cultural background, and you never disrespected the teachers, and you never talked back. So I kind of had to sit there and then take it. I didn't say anything. The day went on. It was time for reading, and the teacher called on different students to read. Eventually, she called on Sue. I didn't respond. She called on Sue again. I didn't respond. She asked the student next to me to point out where we were reading in the reading book because she thought I didn't know where I was. So at that time, I made a decision as a 3rd grader. And I told my teacher that my name is not Sue, my name is Farhat. I came from a home environment where we were taught respect of elders and teachers, and we also dialogued at home. We discussed literature, politics, religion, and talked about the Quran and the Sunnah with our parents. It probably helped that we didn't have a TV, so we had a lot of talk time. Our home was an institution, and my name represented my identity, my culture, my history, and my religion. Changing my name would have been a foundational change for me. It would have been a simple change, but one that would have a lasting impact on my identity. As a 3rd grader, I did not know what kind of an impact it would have. I simply knew it was something I did not want to do. My question to parents is, how many of our children who are born as Muhammad are now Mo, and how many Abdullahs are Abes, and how many Yusufs are Joe, and how many Aminas are Amy's, and how many Yasmins are Jasmines? Many parents don't even know that their children have a different identity at school that they are not even aware of. I realize that our kids will face these choices sometime in their life, in college or at work, where they will have to make decisions. But I don't think it should be a decision made by a child in 3rd grade. They should make these decisions as young adults when their identity is solidified. I realize that in America, being Muslim and practicing Islam is not inherited. It is a willful choice that each one of us has to make when we are well prepared. Having an identity and knowing who you are is the foundation and the starting point of every individual's life. And Islamic schools play a vital role in shaping that Muslim self-identity. That's the first point. The second point, knowing right from wrong and choosing right is the next biggest challenge for our kids. Sometimes we worry so much about the non-Muslims and their values that we forget that today there are numerous interpretations of what Islam is and what it means to be a Muslim today. I live in a community in Chicago where it is as homogeneous as it is diverse. We have many, many kinds of Muslims. As a matter of fact, I think we have every possible kind of Muslim in Chicago and in Illinois. I have one story or two stories that I wanted to share with you. And these are all true stories. And this was featured on our local news channel in Chicago as well. There was a young girl who went to one of the top public schools in Illinois, and probably one of the top schools in the United States. Her father was a pillar of the community. She was a good Muslim. Everybody understood her to have good values. She even wore hijab, alhamdulillah, and she went to a very good school. And she was nominated as a homecoming queen. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the culture here, but football and basketball and sports are almost like a religion for the people in the American culture. And homecoming is a football event where there's a king selected and a queen selected, and there's a parade, and they come to the event, and there's a dance afterwards, and they dance together. Well, her interpretation of Islam was that she wanted to represent Islam and show that Muslims could do everything. What a confusing time for Muslims. What a confusing time for our kids. What confusing messages our kids are getting all the time. The Muslim youth of today are involved, unfortunately, in drug abuse, incidents of suicide, teens running away from home, promiscuous behavior which results in girls and boys running away together, girls marrying non-Muslim, girls having children out of wedlock, girls having a preference for the same gender. All of these are personal incidents that I know of and stories and families that I'm aware of. I know a situation when a parent got a phone call from the police station, and when they went to the police station, they found their daughter, who they did not recognize, because when she left home, she had a different attire on, and when they went to the police station, she was wearing something very different and looked completely different. And she was there for having left school and getting caught by the police for shoplifting. In all these incidents, one fact rang true. There was a contradiction in values, either between the two parents or the home and the school. What is interesting about all of this is that most of these students, yes, are public school students, but some were not. And I'm here to tell you facts. I'm here to share with you the realities, the society and the world that we live in. Yes, Islamic schools we need, and they provide a safe option for our students, but that's just the starting point. The second most important thing is to have similarities in values between the two entities that are raising our kids, the home and the school. The home is one parent, and the school is another parent. Teaching characters is what Islamic schools do. We teach it through our classes and as a way of life as Muslims. The public schools recognize that teaching values is an important part of a child's education, and as a result, introduced character education about 10 years ago. But I wonder what good is teaching values when they are not rooted in a faith. It's like having an anchor. Values are like an anchor, but not having faith is having an anchor without a ship. What is the purpose of schools today? The place where your kids spend most of their awake hours interacting with adults and children alike. John Dewey was a leading educational theorist and a professor at the University of Chicago from 1894 to 1904. Well respected. Many of our books on education are based upon his philosophy. He said, education and schools are instruments in creating social change and reform. The idea is that if we want a society to behave a certain way, we indoctrinate them through schools. Clearly, the declared mission of schools is to impose a set of beliefs. Our responsibility as parents is to ensure that that belief system is consistent between the home and the school. Like I said, the home is one parent and the school is another. Today, in America, it takes two parents to raise a child, the home and the school working together. In an Islamic school, as parents, we can easily align our values and we have a voice in shaping the direction of the institution and the belief system. Point 3. Our history as Muslims in America is brief but impressive, alhamdulillah. My parents' generation came to America about 50 years ago for economic reasons and very quickly settled in. Instinctively, they established places of worship to practice their faith. The next generation wanted to protect their children from the ills of society and decided to create schools. What we as Muslims are doing is no different than what the Protestants did, and what the Catholics did, and what the Jewish community has done and continues to do.
فهو درب به نور به ترقى به تحيا عالما حرا فخور اطلب العلم أخي فهو درب به نور به ترقى به تحيا عالما حرا فخور
سل إماما عاش في العلم دهورا ودهور يطلب العلم ببذل